In another case update, I want to talk about the Nick Reiner case because this case took a pretty unexpected turn last week. Or was it last week? Yeah, I guess it was end of last week. So, as you know, Nick Reiner is charged in the death of his parents. And literally right before he was supposed to be back in court, his defense attorney, Alan Jackson, suddenly just stepped away from the case. Which Alan Jackson, as a reminder, isn't just any attorney. It's the same guy who notoriously represented Karen Reed, Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey. I believe he used to be an LA prosecutor, and then he changed over to a defense attorney. I'm pretty positive that that's his, I guess you call it resume. I don't even know, whatever. But Alan released a statement saying, quote, that there were circumstances beyond our control and that he just could not continue representing Nick. However, he didn't explain what that actually means, what those circumstances are. But what made it even stranger is that even after dropping him as a client, Alan still went out of his way to say that Nick is not guilty, specifically that he is not guilty under California law. But then he stopped short of giving any more detail. So this obviously raised a lot of eyebrows, right? First and foremost, why is he no longer representing him? Which my gut tells me it's the money. I'm sure the siblings aren't on board with paying for this high-priced, fancy attorney. Obviously, we know Nick doesn't have a ton of money to his name either. So that's why the public defender is now representing him. But also, Alan Jackson's very carefully curated choice of words of him not being guilty under California law, when we also saw outside of the courthouse a couple of weeks ago when he said, don't jump to conclusions. There's a lot more to this. We don't know where this is going to go. We have heard of the rumors that Nick had suffered from schizophrenia and different mental health disorders and things like that. I think that they are going to say that he was clinically and legally insane at the time of these murders. That's just my guess. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a doctor, but I think that that's what they are going to say and what they're going to try to prove, that he wasn't in his right mind at the time of these murders, so that under California law, he cannot be held responsible and that he is not guilty of murder. So again, very carefully chosen words, and I could be completely freaking wrong here, but that's where I'm going with this. That's what I am thinking. So like I said, there's been a lot of speculation that this whole thing just came down to money and that that's why Alan Jackson is no longer representing him. They think that maybe the family has cut any sort of financial support from Nick and, that there's other things at play behind the scenes. But we also know that Alan Jackson is definitely not, what you would call budget friendly in terms of his cost. He is a very high-priced attorney, so I think that all of that really does align. So because of the last-minute switch, as I mentioned, Nick is now being represented by the LA County Public Defender's Office, and his arraignment has been pushed back to February to give his new defense team time to get up to speed, gather all the discovery, the evidence, and, figure out their strategy. So we'll see what happens. We will see what the family says if it ends up being confirmed that this all does come down to, financial support, and what the new defense is going to now